Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael. I am the staffer for Congresswoman Tenney. Thank you all for being here or watching this. I am glad to have Miss Marshall from the Buffalo Passport Center come here to present on our Passport monthly webinar agency series, and we are going to be discussing passports and the Passport Center. With that, I am going to hand this over to you, Jesse, and I will mute myself. I believe you can share your screen as well, and that will show up.
All right, good morning, everybody. I was previously introduced, my name is Jesse Marshall, and I'm a supervisory passport specialist with the Buffalo Passport Agency. Can y'all see my screen? Should be good.
Yep, we can see you just fine, yes.
Great. So I'm a supervisory passport specialist, currently the acting customer service manager, and I'm going to talk to you a little about what we do here in Buffalo. This is a picture of our building. So we are one of 29 public passport agencies and centers that are located throughout the country, and we process passport applications. We do a couple of different things. So we actually take in all the passport applications throughout what's called lockbox. So if you apply at a post office, a county clerk's office, library, we process those applications, but we also have a public facing counter. If you have an urgent need to travel, we will assist you. So whether it was out of, oh my goodness, I have a trip and it was last minute, life, death, or I lost my passport, can't find it, search through my files, we can assist with that. And this map highlights basically what agency would deal with your application. And most of our facilities are going to be located on a border to help with people who are traveling between the U.S., Canada, and U.S. and Mexico, which is why Buffalo is, Buffalo is a really good destination for us for people traveling between the US and Canada. So we have a large counter facility, but we do have agency in Vermont and Minneapolis. I'm thinking El Paso, New Orleans, a lot of cruising destinations too. Also San Diego. I'm just trying to think of some off the top of my head. Going to the next slide, we do have a new passport that has just been rolled out over the course of probably about the last 6 months, and that will be into 2023. It's the next generation passport. So if you have applied over this course of the last 6 months or will be applying throughout 2022 into 2023, you may be receiving this new book. Or you may be receiving the current book that is out. This new page is really interesting. It is very reminiscent of the New York State driver's license. It's a polycarbonate page, so it makes that little tinging noise. It's got a bunch of new safety features on it. So it's got the micro printing on it, which is this really small printing. If you feel the top of the page, you can feel that etching on the top, so it's not a flat, smooth surface. Um, there's a lot of enhanced features on it to deter from counterfeiting and alternating on it. So you will be seeing that, but because there is a slow rollout between all the 29 different facilities, you may be getting an old book. So I can't make that guarantee. I do know in Buffalo, we are receiving the new printers next month. So that is coming soon if you will be applying to our local counter. All right. So what has happened recently for passport services and the Department of State? And what I can tell you is with COVID-19 and this pandemic, just like everywhere else, I think every agency, government facility has changed. We did have a little bit of a backlog with passport applications. At one point, we were up to 15-week wait time. So what we did to address these concerns in people receiving their passport is we brought workers back from leave, and we addressed some kind of inefficiencies in our logistics of how we do process our applications, and that's by excuse me, moving workload around, and we increased our budget to hire more people. There is a pretty robust training program to become a passport specialist. These are the individuals who process applications. It is not just being able to apply for a product and get it. There's actually a lot of adjudicative decisions that go into receiving a passport, a lot of entitlement. Not just being born in the United States means you're automatically entitled. So it does take about 3 years of training to be able to sufficiently adjudicate a passport. And we did authorize more overtime to get those wait times down. And I will talk in the next slide about the wait times to receive a passport. And besides just passport specialists working on passport applications, we have more people throughout the department, the entire Department of State, adjudicating passport specialists so that all the citizens who apply for a passport can receive their applications in a more efficient manner. Okay, so the big question, how long is it going to take me to receive my passport? I have urgent travel, I have a trip planned. Our processing times are always on travel.state.gov. And if they are updated, that's where that information would be. And if you apply for routine processing, it is 8 to 11 weeks. If you apply for expedited processing, that is 5 to 7 weeks with an additional $60 fee for that expedited service. If you come into our office because you need additional servicing, you need possibly a same day passport, it would be that additional $60. How long is a passport valid? And is it true that you need at least 6 months of validity to travel on that passport? And we'll talk about that. So adult passports are usually good for 10 years and children's are good for 5 years. So make sure if you are traveling, check your kids' passports. Usually what most families do is they check theirs, they check the adults and they think they're good to go. And then what we see in our office is that they didn't check their kids and they get to the airport and they get turned around at the airport. So check your children's because you usually all apply as a family unit and then you'll end up at our office instead of at the airport or on your trip. For kids airports, for kids passports, it's really important that we have two-parent consent. So either both parents need to sign on a passport application or we need a notarized written consent from that other parent if they're not applying at that time. We do have a form for that. If you apply at a post office or at another acceptance facility, they will have that form. It is the DS 3053 form. The reason that most people say you need 6 months of validity remaining on a passport is because other countries require a certain amount of validity on your passport when you travel. That information can be found on travel.state.gov. Some countries are 3, some countries can be up to a year. Please check that country-specific travel information before booking a trip or before you leave for the airport or a week before your trip to make sure that you are all set before you go on your trip. Highly recommend it. If you have emergency travel and you do need an appointment to come to a passport agency, you can make an appointment. We do have a call center, the National Passport Information Center. I did list that number. It is also found on travel.state.gov. Agency appointments vary. It can be highly, I wouldn't say competitive, but it can be hard to get an appointment, especially depending on the time of the year you're traveling. If you are traveling during 4th of July week, Memorial Day weekend, I would advise to try to get an appointment earlier. Do not expect to walk into an agency for an appointment, especially during COVID. We do not take walk-ins. So appointments do open up 2 weeks before that date. So currently we're taking appointments for today is the 9th, so 2 weeks before that, after that. Okay, so what are you going to need? You're going to need ID when you go in for your appointment. There's been a lot of news about what Real ID is. Real ID is saying it's primary identification. States were required to implement Real ID. We are not involved in Real ID. That is a question for Homeland Security. You can look at their website if you have any questions. That Real ID program has been kind of rolled back time and time again, especially during COVID, to be compliant with that. It involves verifying your citizenship. And if you have any questions about that, defer to the Department of Homeland Security. Recently, the Department of State has updated passport forms for a gender marker change, and you can get a passport with an X gender marker on your passport. This just changed roughly about a month ago. If you are looking to change your gender on your passport, you need to fill out a DS-11 form. You can self-certify the form. If the acceptance agent facility does not have that form is um, on our website at travel.state.gov. If you did have a name change associated after you received your last passport, you need to provide your legal name change and valid ID with your passport. We did a lot of extensive talking about travel.state.gov. There is ample information about travel, passports, waiting time, visa information. If you're going to a country that requires a visa, requires vaccinations, I would advise you to look at that before going on a trip, especially right now with different countries having various warnings about travel. We rate different countries with different levels of warnings. It is a good recommendation to do a little bit of research before booking a trip. Also, we have another great program called the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, which if you are going to take a trip, it basically tells the department that you are going to be in a certain country within a certain time frame, so that if there is some sort of event, national disaster, the consulate or the embassy in that country has a count for all the Americans that are in country at that time in case there needs to be some sort of evacuation, some sort of crisis management. There is a general awareness from department staff to have a count of Americans. Just as a final summation, if you have urgent travel and you need to apply for a passport, what do you need to bring? A DS-11 or a DS-82 form, proof of U.S. citizenship with a photocopy, present identification with a photocopy, a passport photo that needs to be taken within 6 months. If you have a prior passport, please present that. Payment, and if available, your travel itinerary. We know sometimes people don't have an itinerary if they're crossing a land border, but documentation regarding your travel. There might be additional things you may need if you lost a passport, if you're applying for a minor child, and you have a notarized consent form. Some people have various other forms that they need to present, like we talked about a name change document. Please present that when you apply to an acceptance facility or when you apply at our office. And that is all I have regarding passports. And if
Awesome.
anybody has
Thank you
any
very much.
questions, I'm sorry, that was a lot of information.
No, thank you so much, Jesse. I did have one question that I wanted to run by you. This one is in regard to updating passports. So in this situation, constituent is a year out of their passport expiring and they're going to apply for a new one, is their current passport that they have that will expire in a year still be valid for when they are traveling in a couple weeks, even though they're applying for a new one?
So if it was an adult book, so a fully valid 10-year book, and they are trying to travel with that, I would check travel.state.gov, look at the country that they're going to, see if they have enough validity on it, and then it should be good to go.
Okay, and in that, I think the question was, I think it might be along the lines of they're going to put into the Department of State for a new passport. Does that invalidate theirs while they get a new one? Just throughout that process.
So they already
I think
applied
that question was
for,
a little, yeah, they're applying through it, and at least from this question, they're applying for it and wanting to make sure that it's going to be valid. Currently, even though there's an application through the Department of State for a new one.
They would
Just
have
making
to
sure that
send,
application isn't gonna invalidate their current.
I think I understand the question. They would have to send their old passport in when they're applying for a new one. So they wouldn't have the passport.
yeah,
Right.
so if
Okay.
they sent it, if they sent the passport in on renewal form, we would have canceled that.
Okay, that was the question. Yeah, that was the question out there. Okay, thank you very much. That was the only one that was sent in. And so I'm just gonna finish it on this, where if anybody does have any questions about this, feel free to contact our office. Julia in our Binghamton District office handles most of our passports. And you can call our office at 607-242-0200. With that, if there aren't any other questions, which I don't see, I will end this. And so thank you very much, Jesse. I appreciate it. And on behalf of the Congresswoman, thank you for coming out as well and doing this.
You're welcome. Any questions anyone has, feel free to reach out through your office and you guys can be in contact with us. We are more than welcome to field any questions about any passport related services.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Jesse. I appreciate it. With that, I'm going to stop the recording and stop the webinar. Thank you, everyone.